Well, it's that time of year again, time for parent-teacher conferences. Whether you called the conference yourself just to check in or to express concerns, or perhaps whether the teacher called the conference and you're wondering, oh my gosh, what am I going to hear about my child? It can be worrisome. And I'm here to help you because I am the teacher in your corner, and I can give you some tips that will help you to have a productive and positive conference experience. The most valuable thing you can do is come to the conference ready to work as a team. Remember that everyone at that table wants the same thing, and that's what's best for your child. While you may or may not agree on every point discussed, you don't want to leave the room feeling like you've made a new enemy. You are there to work together. And we love hearing all those great things about our child, but strengths and weaknesses need to be discussed. The conversation should also include your observations at home, because that's an environment your teacher doesn't see your child in. For example, does your child struggle for over an hour every night with homework that's expected to take only 30 minutes? We want to know that. Is your child feeling like they don't have a friend in the classroom? That's important too. Teachers are there as almost a family member, and while we can't solve all of the problems, we do want to help. We are usually flexible and we want to be part of the solution for you. Split custody decisions, a sport that your child is extra involved in that impacts their time at home in the evening. These are all things to bring up and make sure that the teacher is aware of. Sometimes you'll encounter a teacher who's very rigid, and you just have to find ways to work around that. But more often than not, we are willing to work with you. It's a note from the teacher. It says, please don't share all of this at open house or meet the teacher. We are not able to focus on your individual situation at that time and are trying to remember to write down the name of the kid who's highly allergic to peanuts while greeting the other two families that just walked in. Write a note with any special information at the beginning of the school year that you want your teacher to have in hand. Things like food allergies come to mind, or special medical needs. Even though the office is aware of those things, you want to put that into the teacher's hand, let them know what it is. That way they can keep up with it. Back to the conference though. Make sure that you take really good notes during the conference of things like behavior plans to be implemented, resources to be accessed, or any special interventions that the teacher has agreed to going forward. You will probably get a copy of the teacher's notes as well, but it's always good to have your own documentation, especially if there's a problem with follow through. Now, I hope that you are fortunate enough to have an amazing, awesome teacher that is everything you dreamed of to work with this year. But the simple fact is, every now and then you're going to have a situation that does require some administrative support. Let's take a look at some situations and see if you can figure out when it's appropriate to go up that chain of command. What if your child is falling farther and farther behind? The work is just too hard. They're getting overwhelmed and learning to hate school. The answer is, if there are not any other reasons for the struggle, such as language barriers, illness, or family issues at home, something along those lines, then that does need to be a conversation with the teacher. They may agree to put some extra interventions in place. The process is usually a tier form of support with varying levels of support being available to your child. Data would be taken on how effective those interventions are, and then a plan would be made moving forward with a team of professionals. Now, if your child's already in the midst of that process and we're still having problems, then there certainly needs to be another meeting with the multidisciplinary team so that you can see what is going on and perhaps request an evaluation. You are within your rights to do so. It doesn't mean you'll necessarily get one, but it will be a consideration if you ask that it is. So you've talked to the teacher, the grades are still low, and state test scores are low, and now we're worried about retention. In this situation, I think it would be appropriate to reach out to the administrator, but copy the teacher as a courtesy. Nobody likes to hear from their administrator that a parent went behind their back. And in your email to the administrator, it would be very helpful for you to give a timeline or a bullet list of what's been done so far. Aren't you glad you kept those great notes at those previous conferences, right? And you need to request a meeting to review your child's data and make an action plan moving forward. Nobody wants to let a situation linger too long, because if there are evaluations that need to be done or interventions that need to be put in place and monitored, those take time, sometimes a lot of time, and you need to just continue to be the squeaky wheel to get that grease. What if your child's teacher seems defensive or even adversarial and you're uncomfortable? In this situation, it would be appropriate to reach out to another professional, maybe even the guidance counselor if you don't want to go straight to the administrator, and just request that a buffer person be there at the conference. You or your child just don't like that teacher, and you really want him to be in the classroom that his best friend is in. You know, the one with the Disney theme. We're so into Disney. What if your child's teacher refuses to work with you after hours? You don't get off work until 6 p.m. after all. Sorry, guys, but your child's teacher does have a life outside of school of their own. They have their own families to take care of. So it's really on the parents to find a way to make those hours work. Now, if you tell the teacher, I am available during my lunch hour from this time to this time, they can usually find someone to cover the class so that they can have at least a phone conference with you. You definitely want to keep those lines of communication open and be flexible yourself. There are some teachers who are willing to answer emails and even have conferences after hours, and some schools will accommodate that with a specific night or two dedicated to conferences. But if that's not an option, you're going to have to get a little creative yourself, I'm afraid. What if the teacher is not able to respond adequately to your questions about behavioral or academic expectations in the classroom? It is reasonable for you to have a thorough understanding of the expectations. If you have first given the teacher an opportunity during a conference or in a phone call to clarify those for you, then it would be appropriate to go to their administrator to ask for further clarification. I hope your conference is a pleasant one and that you feel well connected and well informed at its conclusion. Make sure to share the high points of it with your child. Let them know that their teacher was bragging on them. They love to hear that. And if there are any special interventions that are going to be put in place, go ahead and let them be informed of those as well. Now, if you have any negative comments or thoughts or feelings about the conference, please do not vent in front of your child. It really does nothing for them. It can also undermine the teacher and even create anxiety in your child, because the teacher and the parents are some of the most important people in their lives, and they don't need to know that they are at odds in any way. You still need to present that united front. You are an awesome parent for making sure that your conference is as productive and helpful as it can be. So continue to stay in touch with your child's teacher and with me. If you enjoyed this content, I hope you'll like and subscribe to this channel and keep an eye out for more advice from the teacher in your corner.